Welcome back everyone to another incredible deep dive into the fascinating world of rare and valuable coins, where ordinary-looking pennies can turn out to be worth life-changing fortunes. And today's story might just blow your mind because we're talking about the mysterious and highly talked about 1995 wheat penny, a coin that has stunned collectors and experts alike. Rumored to have a value of an astonishing $56 million, all because of the incredible errors, minting mistakes, and bizarre circumstances that make it one of the most unique coins in American history. At first glance, the idea of a 1995 wheat penny even existing seems odd since the U.S. Mint officially stopped producing wheatbacks cents decades earlier, in 1958 to be precise, when the Lincoln Memorial reverse design replaced it starting in 1959, but somehow, stories of a 1995 penny bearing the classic wheat ears reverse began to surface, sparking controversy, excitement, and disbelief among collectors who couldn't fathom how such a piece could even exist. Imagine rummaging through your loose change or a jar of old coins and discovering what looks like a normal Lincoln cent, but as you flip it over, your eyes widen because instead of the familiar Lincoln Memorial, you see the legendary wheat ears reverse design that hadn't been minted in nearly 40 years. This shocking combination immediately made experts wonder if this was a fantastically rare mint error or perhaps a deliberate test strike that somehow escaped the mint's control. The story behind this coin begins at the U.S. Mint in 1995, a year already well known among numismatists for the famous 1995 double-die obverse Lincoln cent, where a striking doubling on the word liberty and the motto, "In God We Trust," gave birth to one of the most collectible modern-era coins. But the appearance of a 1995 wheat penny added a whole new layer of mystery to that year's production, because if genuine, it would represent one of the most astounding mint blunders in modern history, or even perhaps a secret pattern coin created for internal testing that somehow slipped out. The supposed 1995 wheat penny displays a normal obverse featuring Abraham Lincoln's bust, just like any regular cent of that era, with clear detailing and a mint mark D or P depending on its place of origin, but the reverse is where the real shock lies. The wheat ears on either side of the denomination, 1 cent, and the phrase, E pluribus unum, appear sharply struck, in the same style used between 1909 and 1958, almost as if someone had taken a die from those decades and paired it with a 1995 obverse die during a minting run. Some experts theorize that this coin could have resulted from an astonishing mint mix-up, where an old die intended for historical or commemorative use was accidentally reinstalled, possibly during maintenance or die storage reorganization, which has happened in rare cases throughout mint history. Others suggest that it might have been a mule error, a type of coin struck with mismatched obverse and reverse designs, which are among the rarest mint errors known to exist. Mule coins, like the famous 2000 Sacagawea dollar struck with a state quarter obverse, have sold for enormous sums at auction, and the idea of a 1995 Lincoln obverse paired with a wheat reverse fits right into that category of impossibly rare combinations that collectors go crazy for. What makes the 1995 wheat penny even more captivating is the notion that it may not have been just a single accidental strike. Some rumors claim that a few test strikes were made to evaluate a possible commemorative revival of the wheat design, perhaps to honor the legacy of the Lincoln cent as it approached nearly a century of circulation, and these experimental pieces were never intended for public release. If even one of those escaped the mint, its existence would send shockwaves through the collecting community, as it represents a direct bridge between two eras of American coinage separated by almost 4 decades. When examining reports of this coin, collectors describe astonishing details like doubling on the obverse, especially around Liberty and Lincoln's eye, similar to the 1995 double-die cent, which raises even more questions. Could this be a hybrid error that combines both a mule reverse and a double-die obverse? That would make it practically one of a kind, an almost impossible anomaly in minting history. The possibilities are staggering. If genuine, it's not just a coin, it's a historical mistake, an artifact of minting chaos, and a symbol of how even in the most automated, tightly controlled processes, human error and chance can produce miracles of numismatic intrigue. The coin's alleged discovery stories are equally fascinating. One account tells of a collector in Pennsylvania who found it in a roll of uncirculated cents from a local bank, thinking at first it was a simple curiosity until he realized the reverse didn't match any coin produced in decades. Another rumor mentions a mint employee who came forward anonymously, claiming that a small batch of experimental wheat reverses had been tested on modern blanks for quality checks. Whether these accounts are true or not, they add to the mythos surrounding the 1995 wheat penny, transforming it into a legendary ghost coin that hovers between myth and reality. What truly drives its rumored $56 million value isn't just its rarity, but its sheer impossibility, because when collectors confront something that shouldn't exist, something that defies the laws of official production, the emotional and historical weight skyrockets its worth beyond logic. The combination of a Lincoln Memorial-era obverse and a discontinued wheat reverse ties together the oldest and newest chapters of Lincoln cent history, something no officially sanctioned coin ever achieved. The errors attributed to the 1995 wheat penny are said to include extreme die doubling, misaligned die strikes, planchet imperfections, and even off-metal compositions, with reports that some examples were struck on experimental zinc-coated planchets with unusual luster and tone, while others may show copper layering anomalies due to transitional minting processes. The presence of any of these errors alone would make a coin valuable, but all of them combined on a piece that also exhibits a design that shouldn't even exist magnifies the coin's allure to astronomical levels. Collectors have always been drawn to the romantic idea of finding treasure in ordinary change, and the 1995 wheat penny represents the ultimate dream, a coin that bridges the 20th century's past and the late modern era's production, a time capsule forged in error and mystery. Many coin experts have tried to replicate or explain its appearance through digital imaging and die study, comparing historical die markers from 1950s wheat cents with those rumored on the 1995 piece, and the similarities are uncanny, suggesting the possibility that an actual wheat reverse die survived far longer than anyone believed possible. The U.S. Mint's die control and destruction policies would make such survival nearly impossible, but history has proven that minting anomalies, thefts, or misplacements do happen, and coins like the 1913 Liberty nickel or the 1943 copper penny stand as testament to how even impossible coins can exist. If we look at patterns, mule coins and transitional errors tend to fetch enormous sums at auction, with collectors willing to pay millions for unique or undocumented issues. The 1995 wheat penny, with its stacked set of mysteries, mule design, double die traits, possible transitional metal content, and uncertain origins, represents the perfect storm for a coin to achieve mythic status. The fascination also lies in the fact that, unlike older coins, the 1995 year is relatively modern, meaning there could still be examples hidden in collections, in circulation, or even sitting unnoticed in someone's coin jar, waiting to rewrite numismatic history. Some numismatists have speculated that if authenticated, such a coin could break every record ever set for a modern cent, surpassing the multimillion-dollar sales of the 1943 bronze cent or the 1955 double die. The reasoning behind the $56 million valuation ties into both its unique nature and the speculative frenzy that accompanies coins of this type. When a coin defies convention, especially when it's surrounded by mystery and myth, its value transcends its material worth, it becomes a cultural icon, a conversation piece, a once-in-a-lifetime collectible that even billionaires might compete over simply because it shouldn't exist. The appeal isn't just monetary, it's emotional, historical, and intellectual, because it challenges our understanding of how coins are made and what is possible in minting technology. The stories of collectors who search endlessly for rare errors often begin with humble curiosity, but the 1995 wheat penny has fueled obsessions, sleepless nights, and heated debates across online forums and auction houses. Some claim to have seen it, others dismiss it as urban legend, but everyone agrees on one thing: if it's real, it's one of the most valuable pennies ever conceived. To understand its significance, we also need to appreciate the historical importance of the wheat cent design itself. The wheat ears reverse, introduced in 1909 to mark the centennial of Lincoln's birth, was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person, designed by Victor David Brenner, and it remained iconic until it was replaced by the memorial reverse in 1959. The wheat design carries deep nostalgic value, symbolizing America's growth, hard work, and agricultural roots, and its reappearance decades later on a coin from 1995 taps directly into that sense of nostalgia. Next. 1952 D wheat penny. Today we're diving deep into one such incredible piece of American numismatic history, the 1952 D wheat penny, a coin that has stirred collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike because of its unbelievable valuation that has reached as high as $42 million due to a combination of mysterious errors, unique minting flaws, and the rare circumstances surrounding its production at the Denver Mint, making it not just a coin, but a true legend in the world of collectibles. The 1952 D wheat penny is one of those coins that remind us how something so small can carry within it a story spanning decades, involving misstrikes, double dies, and planchet mistakes that turn an everyday object into a priceless artifact. and the deeper we go into its background, the clearer it becomes why this humble 1-cent coin has captured the imagination of coin experts and investors worldwide. When the 1952 wheat penny was first minted, it was part of a massive production run designed to meet the growing post-war economic boom in the United States. Millions were struck at the Denver Mint with the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the wheat stalks on the reverse, symbolizing prosperity, unity, and strength. However, not every penny produced that year was identical. During the coinage process, numerous mechanical and human errors occurred, and a few of these rare mistakes created versions of the 1952 penny that are now among the most sought-after coins in existence. Imagine a single misalignment in the minting press leading to an off-center strike, or a tiny die crack forming during production, leaving an odd raised line across Lincoln's face or along the edge of the coin. These seemingly insignificant details, invisible to most people in daily circulation, are what separate a standard penny worth 1 cent from a treasure worth millions. The most legendary of all is the 1952 double die obverse, where the die used to imprint the design shifted ever so slightly between strikes, creating a ghostly doubling effect that can be seen around Lincoln's eye, lips, and the word liberty. Collectors know that such doubling is not merely a curiosity but a sign of rarity, and when paired with the near-perfect state of preservation, it transforms the coin into a once-in-a-lifetime find. Some examples also show a repunched mint mark where the D for Denver was accidentally struck more than once in slightly different positions, leading to the famous RPM varieties that are now considered holy grails among penny enthusiasts. Then there are the off-metal strikes, instances where a 1952 penny was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a foreign coin or even another U.S. denomination, resulting in a coin of unusual weight, color, or metallic composition. A few of these have surfaced over the years, their coppery surfaces glinting with strange tones of silver or bronze, and when tested, revealed to have been struck on experimental or transitional planchets. These kinds of errors are extremely rare and usually occur when leftover blanks from previous years get mixed in during the minting process, meaning that each one represents a fascinating glimpse into the operational quirks of the mid-century U.S. Mint. The 1952 wheat penny's incredible value of $42 million in certain collector circles stems not only from its physical anomalies but also from the stories surrounding how these few special coins were discovered. Some were found tucked away in old rolls of wheat cents forgotten in bank vaults, others surfaced from estate sales, and a few emerged from long-time collectors who never realized they held something extraordinary. Each time one is rediscovered, the numismatic world buzzes with excitement, prices surge, and the legend grows. One of the most intriguing error types connected with the 1952 penny is the die clash error, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving faint impressions of the reverse design on the obverse die and vice versa. When a new coin is then struck using those clash dies, ghostly outlines of the reverse design appear on Lincoln's portrait, creating a coin that looks as if two worlds overlapped for an instant. This kind of striking error gives collectors an eerie visual reminder of the precision and complexity required to produce millions of coins flawlessly, and how just a brief lapse can create something uniquely valuable. Another type of error seen on a few 1952 wheat pennies is the broadstrike error, where the coin was struck outside the collar, causing it to spread out wider and thinner than normal. This kind of error distorts the rim and lettering, making the coin look almost stretched, and when preserved in mint state condition, it can command astronomical sums at auction because of how visually distinctive it is. Some examples of the 1952 penny even display a striking rotation error, where the reverse design is rotated relative to the obverse by anywhere from 15 to 180 degrees, a mistake that collectors absolutely love for its rarity and novelty. In the early 1950s, quality control at the Denver Mint was not as advanced as today, and given the massive output of coins, such small misalignments or malfunctions were almost inevitable. What's remarkable is how these once overlooked flaws have become symbols of value, proof that imperfection can sometimes be more precious than perfection. Beyond physical errors, the 1952 penny also holds value for its historical and cultural context. It was produced at a time when the U.S. economy was booming, the nation was recovering from war, and everyday Americans were optimistic about the future. Holding a 1952 penny is like holding a piece of that optimism, and collectors often see it not just as metal, but as a memory preserved in copper. Add to this the fact that most of these coins were heavily circulated, worn down by decades of use, which makes finding one in pristine condition even more extraordinary. Mint state examples with sharp details, red luster, and full wheat lines on the reverse are exceedingly rare and can push the value into astronomical territory, especially when combined with visible errors like doubling or repunched mint marks. The numismatic market has also played a huge role in elevating the 1952 D penny's fame. With social media, coin forums, and auction platforms spreading stories of lucky finds and record-breaking sales, the allure of rare coins has grown exponentially. A few well-documented examples of 1952 D-era pennies have fetched incredible sums, igniting dreams in thousands of hobbyists searching through their old change jars hoping to find one. Experts often remind collectors to check for subtle signs like thickened lettering, distorted dates, or unusual die scratches that could signal a genuine era coin. Even tiny die chips, often appearing as raised bumps on Lincoln's coat or near the wheat ears, can add intrigue and minor value increases, especially when they occur in distinctive patterns. The fascination with the 1952 D wheat penny worth $42 million also underscores how the coin collecting community values rarity, narrative, and provenance as much as the physical coin itself. A coin's story, the who, where, and how it was discovered, can sometimes make it even more valuable than its metallic or aesthetic features alone. One famous tale tells of a collector who purchased a batch of unsearched wheat rolls from a small-town bank in Colorado and discovered a 1952 D penny with clear doubling on the date and, "In God We Trust." The coin was authenticated, graded, and later sold for an unbelievable price, sparking renewed interest in this particular year and mint mark combination. The legend continued to grow as rumors spread that a handful of these rare pennies were minted during a short production window when a damaged die was in use before being replaced, meaning that perhaps only a few dozen exist in the world today. That scarcity drives up both demand and speculation, and in numismatics, rarity plus condition equals value. The $42 million figure, while staggering, represents not just the material worth but the immense historical, cultural, and collector value attached to this single piece of copper. When people look at the 1952 D penny, they're not just seeing a coin, they're seeing a symbol of how human error and chance can create something beyond price. Many collectors also discuss the aesthetic appeal of the 1952 D penny, noting that its copper tone has aged beautifully over time, often developing rich hues of red, brown, and even rainbow-like patinas under certain storage conditions. These natural color variations, when combined with striking errors, can make a coin uniquely beautiful, further enhancing its desirability. Some coins exhibit evidence of planchet lamination errors, where the metal surface began to separate or peel slightly during the minting process, creating unusual textures or small missing flakes that are fascinating to study under magnification. Each such anomaly tells a micro-story of the coin's journey from raw metal to circulation, and the more distinctive the pattern, the more collectors are drawn to it. The Denver Mint's role in this story also adds an intriguing dimension. In 1952, the Mint's machinery was under constant pressure to produce massive quantities, and minor imperfections in dies, collars, and planchets often went unnoticed. The 1950s were an era when precision was achieved through human expertise as much as mechanical consistency, so any small miscalibration or worn die could result in slightly altered impressions that, decades later, would be considered treasures. Next. Today we're diving deep into one of the most astonishing tales in American numismatic lore, the 1958 D Lincoln cent, a small copper coin that, under extraordinary circumstances, has been rumored to reach an unbelievable value of $24 million because of the rare errors, minting mistakes, and mysteries that surround it. Imagine holding an ordinary penny in your hand, one that has been in circulation for decades, only to find out that it's not ordinary at all but one of the most valuable coins ever struck by the U.S. Mint, a single cent born out of human error, mechanical imperfection, and pure chance, all coming together to create something so rare that collectors and experts can hardly believe it exists. The 1958 D penny is a fascinating example of how even the most common coin can hold immense value when certain rare conditions align, a combination of doubled dies, off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, planchet errors, and die deterioration that transform what would otherwise be worth 1 cent into a treasure worth millions. When we talk about the Denver Mint in 1958, it was a time when the United States was transitioning into a new era of coin production. Machines were fast, minting volume was high, and precision was challenged by the sheer number of coins being pressed every day. With billions of cents produced, small imperfections could easily slip through the cracks, and among those billions, a handful of coins bore extraordinary mistakes that would later become legendary. Collectors today hunt for these rare varieties because they not only represent a physical piece of history but also a symbol of how unpredictability and human craftsmanship intersect. The 1958 D. Lincoln cent, featuring the familiar bust of President Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner, hides within its copper surface a variety of striking errors that have fascinated coin enthusiasts for decades. One of the most talked about and mysterious possibilities linked to the 1958 D cent is the concept of the double die obverse, an error that occurs when the hub, which impresses the design onto the die, strikes the die more than once but in slightly misaligned positions, causing the letters, numbers, or design features on the finished coins to appear doubled. Such doubling can be seen dramatically in the 1955 and 1972 cents, but the idea that a similar, perhaps even rarer, doubled die could exist for 1958 D has driven speculation and excitement in the collecting community for years. Some examples reportedly show faint but visible doubling on Liberty and the date, and under magnification, the effect can be striking enough to suggest a misalignment during the hubbing process. Because the Denver Mint produced its own dies and operated separately from Philadelphia's central die hubbing facilities, a doubled die from Denver would be incredibly rare, possibly unique, which only amplifies the potential value. Now, add to that the discovery of repunched mint marks, RPMs, where the letter D for Denver appears to have been struck twice, slightly offset. This can occur when a mint worker punches the D into the die by hand, slightly misaligns it, and corrects the position with a second blow, resulting in a double D or shadowed D appearance. RPMs are highly collectible, especially from the 1950s when the practice of hand-punching mint marks was still common. A crisp, clearly visible repunched mint mark from 1958 D can make a coin worth hundreds or even thousands, but combine it with other errors like a double die, and you're talking about exponential rarity. Beyond die varieties, there's the issue of planchet errors, flaws in the metal blanks before they're struck. Sometimes, the blank planchets used for minting are underweight, clipped, or struck on foreign planchets intended for another denomination or country. Imagine a 1958 D penny struck accidentally on a silver dime planchet or a thin copper blank. This kind of hybrid mistake would be nearly one of a kind and could fetch astronomical prices at auction. There have also been reports of off-center strikes from the Denver Mint that year, where part of the design is missing because the planchet was not properly centered under the die. Depending on how much of the design is missing, and whether the date and mint mark are still visible, such off-center errors can command tens of thousands of dollars, and in pristine condition, even more. But what truly captivates collectors about the 1958 D cent is the possibility of die deterioration combined with overpolishing, when mint workers attempt to clean or rework a die to extend its life, accidentally erasing parts of the design or creating distortions that look like ghostly doubling or misplaced features. On some 1958 D coins, the Lincoln Memorial reverse shows faint extra lines in the steps or misaligned wheat ears in the older wheat reverse designs that spark debate among experts. Are they legitimate hub errors, or the result of overzealous die maintenance? These gray areas of minting history add to the coin's intrigue and make certain specimens stand out, pushing their potential value into uncharted territory. What makes this story even more compelling is that the 1958 D Lincoln cent was among the last years of the wheat reverse design before the change to the Lincoln Memorial in 1959. This transitional boundary adds historical significance, as any error coin from the final year of a design is automatically more collectible. Some researchers even speculate about experimental strikes or test planchets being mixed into regular production runs at the Denver Mint, possibly giving rise to mystery varieties that remain undiscovered. Each possibility fuels the fascination and contributes to the $24 million myth, a reflection not just of one coin's physical rarity, but of the deep human desire to uncover hidden value in the ordinary. When one studies the details of such a coin under magnification, the sharpness of Lincoln's profile, the faint doubling in letters, and subtle imperfections in the rim or fields can tell a story of pressure misalignment, worn dies, and even small temperature variations in the coining presses. The tiniest deviation in die pressure could alter the appearance of the coin's surfaces, giving rise to unique textures known as die flow lines, or even striking through errors where foreign material, like grease, cloth, or debris, was present on the die during striking. A 1958 D penny with a grease-filled die error, for instance, might show missing letters or incomplete features, and in mint state condition, such pieces have been known to reach extreme collector interest. When combined with an attractive red or red-brown surface tone and no signs of circulation, the value skyrockets. Then there's the matter of proof-like strikes, rare cases when business strike coins come out with unusually mirrored surfaces due to overpolished dies. While 1958 proofs were officially minted in Philadelphia, a few 1958 D coins have shown reflective qualities that suggest they might have been struck with highly polished dies, making them appear proof-like. If one of these proof-like Denver cents also displayed a major die error, its rarity would be off the charts, and collectors could easily justify valuations in the tens of millions based on its one-of-a-kind nature. Coin grading agencies like PCGS or NGC authenticate and grade such coins, and the higher the grade, the more explosive the value becomes. A coin graded MS67 or higher with full red luster and a major visible mint error is so scarce that top collectors and museums might compete for it, driving its price far beyond logical limits. The mystique surrounding the 1958 D also grows because it bridges multiple layers of collecting interest: error coins, doubled dies, transitional designs, and end-of-series symbolism, all factors that feed into the mythic narrative of ultra-high valuation. As stories spread of collectors uncovering rare 1958 D cents in old jars, estate collections, or inherited coin albums, the excitement multiplies. Every time one of these coins surfaces with an unusual strike or strange die characteristic, online forums and auction houses light up with speculation. Could this be the one worth millions? This ongoing fascination keeps the legend alive. Some even claim that a specific 1958 D specimen, displaying a dramatic combination of doubling and mint mark repunching, once changed hands privately for an immense sum, fueling the rumored $24 million valuation. Whether or not that exact transaction occurred, what's undeniable is that the lore of the 1958 D penny reflects the passion of collectors who understand that rarity isn't just about numbers, it's about uniqueness, beauty, and the improbable survival of minting miracles. Every minute imperfection is a fingerprint of history, proof of the human hand behind a process that was supposed to be mechanical perfection. Over time, the coin's copper surface can develop toning, deep reds, oranges, purples, and blues, enhancing its visual appeal and thus its desirability among high-end collectors. Natural rainbow toning, particularly when even and vibrant, can add thousands to a coin's price. The more eye-catching and flawless the toning, the more collectors are willing to pay. Combine that with an error coin from the final year of the wheat design, and you have the perfect storm of collectability. What also contributes to the 1958 D cents lore is its connection to broader economic and cultural contexts. America in the late 1950s was at the height of industrial modernization, and the mint was under pressure to produce huge volumes of coins efficiently. Last, 1951's Lincoln cent, a coin that, despite its humble 1-cent denomination, has been rumored to be worth an astonishing $18 million because of its unique combination of minting errors, die varieties, and the mysterious circumstances surrounding its production that have made it a legend in numismatic circles. To most people, a 1951's penny is just a small copper coin, an everyday piece of currency from the post-war era, but to collectors and experts, it represents a time capsule of mid-century minting, a moment when the San Francisco Mint was churning out millions of coins, yet among them, a few came out different enough to change everything. The 1951's penny belongs to the Lincoln Wheat Cent series, which ran from 1909 to 1958, featuring the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner, but what sets this particular year and mint apart is the sheer variety of errors and die anomalies that have been discovered, each one telling a story of imperfection, mechanical wear, and human oversight that combine to create one of the rarest and most valuable coins of its time. Now imagine, during the early 1950s, the San Francisco Mint was in full operation, producing millions of cents made of a copper alloy that carried the rich reddish hue collectors love, but the quality control processes of the era weren't as precise as today's high-tech standards. Dies were reused, sometimes beyond their intended lifespan, and minor mistakes often slipped through the cracks. The 1951's penny is particularly known for its strong die deterioration, doubling, repunched mint marks, and off-center strikes, all of which can dramatically increase its value depending on their clarity and rarity. Some of the most famous examples show the mint mark punched more than once, slightly misaligned with its previous impression, creating what's known as a repunched mint mark, or RPM. This small detail can transform a common penny into a prize worth thousands, and when combined with other features like doubled dies, lamination errors, or off-metal strikes, it becomes a coin of unimaginable worth. One of the most discussed 1951 pennies displays a remarkable doubling on the date and the letters in Liberty and In God We Trust, an error likely caused by die misalignment during the minting process. This kind of doubling isn't the result of mechanical damage but a true doubled die, where the die itself was engraved twice with a slight shift between impressions. To the naked eye, the effect is subtle, but under magnification, the doubling becomes crystal clear, and collectors will pay astronomical sums for coins with such distinct features. Another fascinating aspect of the 1951 penny's legend lies in its off-center strikes, where the coin's design is shifted noticeably away from the center, leaving part of the planchet blank. Some of these errors are only 5 to 10% off, but others can be as extreme as 50%, creating a visually striking and completely unique piece that the mint never intended to release. Coins like that, especially when combined with strong details and minimal wear, have fetched tens of thousands of dollars at auction, but what makes the rumored $18 million example stand apart is the possibility that it combines multiple major errors in a single coin, a perfect storm of minting anomalies so rare it borders on the impossible. Imagine a coin with a double die obverse, a repunched mint mark, and a major off-center strike, all preserved in near-perfect condition. That's the kind of coin that becomes a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, the kind that collectors dream of finding in an old jar or inherited collection. The composition of the 1951 penny itself adds another layer of intrigue. Made primarily of copper, with small amounts of tin and zinc, the color and surface texture of these coins can vary greatly depending on how they were stored and struck. Some coins exhibit dramatic color variations or even planchet impurities that create streaks, spots, or blotches in the metal, a result of improper alloy mixing at the mint. These imperfections, while technically flaws, can make the coin even more desirable to specialists who understand that they tell a story about the minting process itself. There are also rumors in the numismatic community about a small number of 1951 pennies being struck on foreign planchets or transitional metal compositions, possibly due to leftover blanks from earlier coinage runs or testing experiments. If even one authentic example of such a coin were to surface, it could easily justify a valuation in the tens of millions because of its extreme rarity and historical importance. Every detail of the 1951 coin seems to invite deeper study. The placement of Lincoln's portrait, the sharpness of the wheat stalks on the reverse, and even the alignment of the die rotation all matter to collectors. A misaligned die rotation, where the reverse side is rotated relative to the obverse, is yet another kind of mint error that can enhance value, especially when the rotation is dramatic. When experts examine such a coin, they look at every line, every curve, every tiny detail, searching for that perfect combination of error types that elevates a penny into numismatic legend. The fascination with the 1951 penny isn't just about its monetary worth, it's about what it represents, a tangible artifact of American history, born from a time when minting technology still carried the touch of human imperfection. Each coin from that year tells a slightly different story, a narrative shaped by the conditions of the minting room, the wear on the machinery, and the skill or fatigue of the workers overseeing the presses. The coin that reached the rumored $18 million valuation is believed to have an almost mythical mix of qualities, a double die obverse so strong it makes the lettering appear almost three-dimensional, a repunched mint mark showing at least two clear strikes, an off-metal planchet giving it an unusual golden tone, and a near-perfect state of preservation with sharp luster that has survived untouched for more than 70 years. Add to that a mysterious provenance, perhaps discovered in an uncirculated roll or held privately by a mint employee's family for decades, and you have all the ingredients of an $18 million masterpiece. The mystique of coins like this thrives on rarity, condition, and error combinations, but also on the stories that accompany them. In the coin collecting world, provenance can be everything. A coin that can be traced to a notable collection or that has been documented in major numismatic publications immediately carries more weight. The 1951 penny story, whether it's of a single coin with an extraordinary series of errors or a group of rare variations that together form a legend, embodies that spirit. Even common 1951 pennies in pristine, uncirculated condition are sought after, often selling for impressive sums due to the quality of their strike and the rich red luster that collectors adore. However, when you step into the realm of mint errors, especially rare combinations like double dies, RPMs, and off-center strikes, the value skyrockets exponentially. The reason is simple: errors tell us something about the minting process itself, revealing the imperfections in the system and preserving a glimpse of the mechanical and human factors that shape these small copper discs. For those who have spent years studying Lincoln cents, the 1951 S stands out as a particularly fascinating year. Many examples show subtle die cracks, tiny raised lines that run across the surface, forming from stress fractures in the die metal after thousands of strikes. These die cracks often appear like veins on the coin, sometimes crossing important design elements, and while they were once considered undesirable, modern collectors see them as part of the coin's unique character. A dramatic die crack, especially one that looks like it splits Lincoln's portrait or frames the wheat stalks in an artistic way, can add significant value, and in combination with other errors, it contributes to the mystique of the coin's rumored multimillion-dollar status. The 1951 S also shows examples of filled mint marks, where a small piece of debris or grease clogged the die, partially filling the S so it appears faint or malformed. These so-called grease-filled errors are relatively rare and, when perfectly preserved, add to the coin's uniqueness. Another type of error found among these coins is the broad strike error, where the coin is struck without the restraining collar that normally gives it a defined edge. The result is a slightly larger, flat coin with a distorted rim, an unmistakable factory mistake that collectors love to find. Combine that with a strong strike, full luster, and excellent condition, and you have the makings of a true rarity. Some numismatists also theorize that certain 1951 S pennies were struck using overused or mismatched dies, creating weak details on one side and strong impressions on the other. When a coin shows that kind of die fatigue but remains in mint state condition, it tells a story of the very moment the die was nearing its end, a final few strikes before it was retired, immortalizing its flaws in metal. The obsession with finding the perfect 1951 S error penny has driven collectors to comb through millions of coins over the years, hoping to uncover the next great discovery. Stories circulate of people finding rare varieties in old jars, rolls, or estate collections, unaware of their potential until an expert examined them under magnification.